Hi there. It's August 17th and time for Proverbs 17. Jump over there. Turn that off. Okay. This has got lots of good stuff in it. Yeah. This first verse reminds me about Thanksgiving. Better a dry morsel with quiet than a house full of feasting with strife. There. Sacrifices. All right. Makes me think of Thanksgiving, right? People you rarely see once or twice a year. They have different opinions and different ideas. Things start going around politics and different stuff and sports and stuff, and pretty soon they're fighting and the cops arrive and it's awkward, right? Right, so better a dry morsel with quiet than a house full of feasting with strife. Hmm? Two, a servant who deals wisely will rule over a son who acts shamefully and will share the inheritance as one of the brothers. Or be over the brothers, right? Three, the crucible is for silver and the furnace for gold, and the Lord tests hearts. You wonder why they put those together? Right? A crucible and a furnace, foundries, they get very hot, and they put all the bulk silver in a crucible and gold in a furnace. They melt them down into a liquid, okay? And when you melt metal, any kind of metal, down to a liquid, all the impurities always float to the top. Okay, that's called slag. And they will scrape that off and throw it away and then re-pour the metal, let it harden and cool. Then you have pure silver, pure gold, or iron, or copper, or, you know. The Lord does this to hearts, right? Melts it into a liquid state, gets rid of all the impurities, and then reforms the heart pure. If you ask the Lord to do that, He will. Okay? Can it be painful? You bet. But the result is worth it. Okay? And there's lots of songs. Purify my heart. Right? For an evildoer listens to wicked lips, and a liar gives ear to a mischievous tongue. Right? They all tend to band together, don't they? 5 is important. Whoever mocks the poor insults his maker. He who is glad at calamity will not go unpunished. Right? Looking down at people, right? You're glad when horrible things happen to people. Mocking the poor. Ha ha, you're in the gutter and I'm not. You're insulting God Himself. Okay? 6. Grandchildren are the crown of the aged, and the glory of their children is their fathers. Right? The glory of the children is their fathers. Okay? Now I have grandkids, and my children, right? They love to show me off. Okay, that's my dad. It's your grandpa, right? The glory of your children. Of children is their dads, right? Those grandchildren are the crown of the aged. 7. Fine speech is not becoming to a fool, still less a false speech to a prince. Let's look over here. The lip of excellency. All right, it says lying over here. Lying to a prince. Okay. 8. And there's another verse down here. We'll read those. Okay? 8. A bribe is like a magic stone in the eyes of the one who gives it. Wherever he turns, he prospers, right? Somebody goes to Washington with a couple $1,000,000. Right? He gets what he wants. Okay? Well, let's jump down to 23. The wicked accepts a bribe in secret to pervert the ways of justice. See how those go together? Right? 8 and 23. We'll touch back on that, right? 9, whoever covers an offense seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates close friends. Gossip, okay? That's gossip. Talked about it yesterday, too. Right? Somebody tells you something in confidence, and you spread it around, and pretty soon somebody else comes to that person and says, hey, Bob, I hear you're having trouble in this area. We're going to pray for you. How did you find out? I only told my friend, who is no longer my friend because he can't keep his mouth shut, right? Gossip does a lot of damage. Yeah. 10, a rebuke goes deeper into a man of understanding than 100 blows into a fool. Right? A rebuke, a criticism, right? To a man of understanding, a wise man. They think on that. They dwell on that, right? 11, an evil man seeks only rebellion, and a cruel messenger will be sent against him. What does this say over here? Or messenger. By the messenger is meant such means as God useth to punish the rebels. Interesting, huh? 12, let a man meet a she-bear robbed for cubs rather than a fool in his folly. Foolishness. Right? Whereby he meaneth the wicked in his rage who hath no fear of God. Okay? Fool in his folly. The wicked in their rage who has no fear of God. Well, they will, won't they? Stay away from those kind of people. Okay? These protests, screaming and yelling and setting cars on fire, you don't want to go down there. It's better to meet a she-bear robbed for cubs, and that's something you never want to meet, okay? If you value your life, right? 13, if anyone returns evil for good, evil will not depart from his house. I can't imagine doing that, but some people do. Do something good for somebody, and they do something evil in return. That evil will stay with them forever. The beginning of strife is like letting out water, so quit before the quarrel breaks out. Now, this goes along with chapter 15. Okay, that's why it's yellow. We're talking about arguing. Go back and listen to that. And I am going to do a study where I put all these verses together. Okay. The beginning of strife is like letting out water, so quit before the quarrel breaks out. 15, he who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the righteous are both alike an abomination to the Lord. Now, there are some judges that do this, right? Put in there specifically for that reason. They're evil. I think all judges should naturally fear the Lord, right? Since they are given a position of such authority, right? But many don't. Okay. We'll touch back on that too. Why should a fool have money in his hand to buy wisdom when he has no sense? Rhetorical question, right? Price in the hand, right? What availeth in the wicked to be rich, seeing he setteth not his mind to wisdom? Yeah. What good is money if they don't want to do it for wisdom? 17, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. There's a note over here for that too. So that he is more than a friend, even a brother that helpeth in time of adversity, right? Your friends are always, friends, but when the trouble hits and when stuff hits, you find out who your brothers are. Okay? 18, one who lacks sense gives a pledge, and one who puts up security in the presence of his neighbor. That's co-signing. He talks about this a lot in Proverbs, okay? Very much against co-signing. Okay? Whoever loves transgression loves strife. He who makes his door high seeks destruction. Whoever loves transgression loves strife. trouble. All right. Out over there. He that loveth transgression, that loveth strife, and he that exalteth his gate seeketh destruction. All right. You put yourself above your position. All right. There are people who love that kind of stuff. Okay. 20. A man of crooked heart does not discover good, and one with a dishonest tongue falls into calamity. Sooner or later, these liars all get caught, right? Dishonest tongue. 21. He who sires a fool gets himself sorrow, and a father of a fool has no joy. And if you have enough kids, if you have more than, 2 or 3 or 4, the chances are one of them is going to be different than the rest of them. Right? And you have to deal with that. 22. A joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Should your grandma say that to you? A joyful heart is good medicine. Right? If you want to be healthy, you need to first be happy. Okay? Be happy and healthy. Happy is first. Okay? You need to be happy. A joyful heart. Be thankful. There's a whole movement going around now about this, right? Being happy leads to healthy, okay? A crushed spirit. I'm sick. I'm lowly. I'm this. I'm that. Okay? You're speaking evil to yourself, okay? And it will happen as you speak it, okay? If you have a joyful heart, I'm happy, I got up, I can see another day, I see the sunshine, and be thankful for everything, your health will come, okay? It will. But of crushed spirit, if you always doom and gloom, and I'm sick, and I'll never get better, okay? Think about that. Okay, 23. The wicked accepts a bribe in secret to pervert the ways of justice, right? Goes up there with verse 8. Both sides of the coin. 24. The discerning sets his face towards wisdom, but the eyes of a fool are on the ends of the earth. Right? Set your face on wisdom. That's the Bible, okay? Most people have Bibles now. If not, they're online. Right? This Bible is online. Set your face there. The fools are like, someday I'm going to win the lottery, and someday my ship's going to come in. Right? Eyes of a fool. 25. A foolish son is a grief to his father, and bitterness to her who bore him. Right. Now that comes from not disciplining them when they are young. Okay? By the time they're 8, they should not be fools. Okay? 26. To impose a fine on a righteous man is not good, nor to strike the noble for their uprightness. Impose a fine on a righteous man. Think about that. Okay? I'm not going to say anything. I'll get in trouble. So. 27. Whoever restrains his words has knowledge, and he who has a cool spirit is a man of understanding. All right? Restrain your words. Keep your mouth shut. Right? Say only kind things. And if you can't, keep your mouth shut. All right? And have a cool spirit is a man of understanding. Discerning. 28. Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he is deemed intelligent. Right? Knowing when not to speak is more than half the battle. Okay? Half the battle. So, there you go. What do we highlight in here? Verse 1, better is a dry morsel of quiet than a house full of feasting with strife. All right. There's somewhere you know it's going to lead to fights and disagreements and stuff. Just stay home, right? Stay home. 3, the crucible is for silver and the furnace for gold, and the Lord tests hearts. And we talked about that, right? If you want the Lord to purify your heart, ask him, and he will. It will not be easy, but the result is a different person entirely, okay? Okay. 5 is highlighted. Whoever mocks the poor insults his maker. He who is glad at calamity will not go unpunished, right? You mock the poor, you're insulting God. You want to do that? And if you laugh, glad at when bad things happen to people, you will not go unpunished. It says elsewhere in the Bible, even if you laugh at your enemies when you win the war, God may take his anger off of them and put it on you, okay? You should never celebrate or be glad when something bad happens to somebody else, even when it's justified. Okay? 8, a bribe is like a magic stone in the eyes of the one who gives it. Wherever he turns, he prospers, right? In America, they call them lobbyists, okay? And they represent massive mega corporations that make their money however they make their money. We're not going to go into that, right? And how do they give it? Down at 23. The wicked accepts a bribe in secret, right? To pervert the ways of justice. Pervert the ways of justice, okay? Now we vote for representatives. They are not rulers. They are not leaders. They are representatives, right? It saves the country from everybody in the world having to go vote on something. Everybody in the country, right? We have representatives who represent us, right? There's like 600 of them, okay? 500 and so many for the House, and 100 for the Senate. And if they accept a bribe in secret, they're no longer representing their people, right? We pay them a good living salary, but somebody will come there. I will give you 5 years of your salaries if you vote my way on this one thing that your people don't want you to vote that way on. And they do. They're corrupt, right? Perverting the ways of justice. Happens everywhere. Okay? It's not legal everywhere, but it happens everywhere. Okay? We get into that. 9. Whoever covers an offense seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates close friends. Right? This is gossip, okay? Or if somebody offends you, okay, and you cover it up, Lord, forgive them, right? That's seeking love, okay? If you repeat it, well, this guy told me I had an ugly nose. That's done. Oh, he's an awful person since you had an ugly nose. You don't have an ugly nose at all. Different stuff like that, okay? Separates close friends, right? You say stuff like that. Okay, 12 is highlighted. Let a man meet a she-bear robbed of her cubs rather than a fool in his foolishness. Right? Stay with most people. Fools in their foolishness are the ones that are out carrying signs, and we know they're getting paid. Okay, that's not even a secret anymore. Okay, all right, carrying signs and screaming and breaking things that don't belong to them. Right? You're better off being a she-bear robbed of her cubs. That's the maddest thing on earth. Okay, you will not find anything on earth angrier than a she-bear robbed of her cubs. Know that they are 7 to 9 feet tall when they stand up, and their claws alone are 6 inches long. And there have been feet that are this big and claws that are 6 inches long, right? Something that's angry can shred you in seconds. So it means business when he says, That's better than meeting fools in their foolishness. Okay? Because not only can they take your body, they can take your, they can talk evil things to you and whisper evil things and get you believing something that's foolishness. Okay? Interesting how you get all that out of a verse, huh? Okay, 14, the beginning of strife is like letting out water, so quit before the quarrel breaks out. All right. That verse should have been in chapter 15. Okay. We were talking about arguing a couple days ago, and that's a very good verse for that. But yeah, don't start an argument. Don't buy into an argument. So yeah, I'm not going to go there. Okay. 15, he who justifies the wicked and he who condemns the righteous are both alike an abomination to the Lord. Right? Justifies the wicked and condemns the righteous. We know who these people are, right? And they're an abomination to the Lord. 17, a friend loves at all times and a brother is born for adversity. I've had friends in my life. I've had some very, very low times in my life, some horrible times, right? And there was one person, this is way back in the 90s, okay? There was one person who stuck by me, okay? It was a friend. I consider him a brother, okay? And it went both ways, okay? He went through a horrible time in his life. Everybody kicked him to the curb, right? And I said, I want to be Jesus, right, to my brother, because Jesus wouldn't do that, right? Lost the same friends, right, to stick by my brother, but I would do it again, right? You need to be one of those brothers born for adversity, right? 19 is highlighted. Whoever loves transgression loves strife, trouble, right? Transgression. So we look that up. Why not? An act that goes against a law, rule, or code of conduct, right? Whoever loves to do things wrong, right, loves trouble, right? It's a semicolon here. He who makes his door high seeks destruction, right? Put yourself above your station. The higher your pedestal, the longer you have to fall when you get knocked off of it. And it will happen, right? 22, a joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones, right? And we talked about this, tore this apart, okay? One of the keys to being healthy is to be happy, okay? Always find good things, always find positive things to be thankful for. Don't dwell on the things that are wrong, okay? And say, I am healthy, I am happy, I am joyful, right? Because a crushed spirit dries up the bones, doom and gloom. I'm so sick, I'll never do this, right? A joyful heart is good medicine, right? Right here, a joyful heart causeth good health, but a sorrowful mind drieth the bones. That's an important verse. I mean, it would be great. You could preach a whole sermon on that one verse, right? Okay, 23, we did that one. And 27 is highlighted. Whoever restrains his words has knowledge, but he who has a cool spirit is a man of understanding, right? Whoever stays quiet, right? And it goes on, even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he's deemed intelligent. Right? You want to be intelligent? Most of the time, keep quiet. Okay? Keep quiet. And even if you don't know, they'll think maybe you do. Okay? And the Holy Spirit can come in and help you out if you ask the Holy Spirit give me the words. All right? All right? Jesus said, give me the words. It's important to read the Bible. Jesus said, the Holy Spirit, talking to his apostles, all right? The Holy Spirit will remind you of everything that was said and done, so you don't need to try and remember it. Okay? And I've read through the Bible, many times in my 60 years as a Christian. And if I get into some kind of a pickle, pray to the Holy Spirit, he will give me a verse that I didn't memorize. Okay? And you can say that, because if you read the whole Bible, the Holy Spirit remembers everything, knows all the words, right? And he's in you. So that's why it's important to read the Bible. So there you go. That's Proverbs 17. Lots of good stuff in there. Later, we are going to finish the book of Romans today, right? Romans 16, the last chapter of Romans. All right, we're on day 229, I think. And then tomorrow we'll start Corinthians, which is a great chapter. We'll really dig into that one. So that's in the afternoons and through the New Testament in a year. Now listen, give us a like as if you think about it. And tomorrow we'll continue. See you then.